Good afternoon, everyone. I am delighted to present the last keynote speaker of Confien 2021, who is going to talk to us about educators are the real superheroes. Rosalía Valero is Strategic Development Head Americas at Cambridge Assessment English. She manages education transformation activity in the Americas, working with ministries of education and educational institutions and organizations. Rosalia's expertise lies in English language teaching and training, professional development, and English language teaching management. There will be a time for questions at the end of the session, and please join me in welcoming Rosalía Valero.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ceci. How is everyone? I know everything between you, the closing ceremony, and starting your weekend, so don't worry. We're supposed to have 100, I was going to say. No, not 100. An hour and 30 minutes for these, so 90 minutes. But let me start first by saying thank you, muchas gracias, Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco. Also a big thank you to my dear colleagues at the GESUM. So you see, Mario, Cesar, and Ruben, I want you to notice that I did remember not to say the GESPE anymore, right? To all of you, my colleagues, and to all of you, my future colleagues, thank you very much for being here. And so you see, let me start now by sharing my screen, right? So let's go here. And we should go here. And if StreamYard is working properly, and it is, right, we will start. So, Jose Manuel, by the way, thank you for the shout out. I was in your session. I've been in as many sessions as possible. This has been an absolutely great Confien. I mean, it really is so inspiring to be here with you and not just listen to you, but to get the feeling. Believe me when I tell you, we can really get the feeling from all of you, how you participate so actively, etc. And lovely to see everyone and everything that you have been writing. This is the great thing about the virtual talks, is that you can participate more actively. If we were in a sort of face-to-face plenary session, you would be very quiet, because the plenary speaker would be talking. So thank you very much. As I say, it's been a great 2 days being here with you. It really is. It's a lot of fresh air. It's a lot of inspiration. It's a lot of motivation. It's fantastic seeing that you are there, making sure that education goes on. And I just want to ask you, and if you can just very quickly write, what do you think I'm going to be talking about? If you think that I'm going to talk about the new Lucky television program, maybe I may mention it. I don't know, right? So would I be talking about Star Wars? I think there will be a mention at almost coming to the end or in the middle. I cannot remember exactly now. What do you think? I can see all the people, lovely names of all your normales. Okay, resilience. Yes, that's a good guess, right? And I've been to some of the sessions about resilience. Teachers, yes, that's a good guess, Lali. We're at a conference with colleagues, and Jose Manuel said we're all, I will try and talk about Loki Maritza. Just give me a chance. Once a teacher, always a teacher. That's what I'm very fond of saying, right? And here, you and me, all of you, we're all colleagues, right? So I've been learning from you. The role of teachers, okay, very good. Okay, after a year and a half of quarantine, yeah, right. And we've been blessed in Mexico that we're very lucky. It hasn't been a sort of super lockdown, but a quarantine in most places, right? New trends in English language teaching, maybe about a little having a look at the future, but let's start because I have lots and lots of things that I want to share with you. Of course, Diego, Samuel, you're going to see, because this time I'm here to sing your praises. I'm very humbly here going to start singing your praises, and you're going to see why. First of all, let me say hello again. Those of you who were at the Confien at Hanoi, a big shout to all the lovely people there who organized that one. I said to you at that time that I was really impressed by everything that you have been doing. And I had the chance to talk to you, some of you, at an event in Mexico City about a year and a bit ago. And at that time, I remember saying, yes, you call yourself formadores. Ruben has just updated me and he said, fix, Rosalía, F-I-C, right? Fix. Okay, and say formadores. And I said, well, but remember when I said last year and a half ago, I said, for me, you're more than formadores. You're really transformers, because you have been transforming the future of Mexico by doing what you do. Hello, Sandra. Right? So this is like the latest message you have from me. You are transformers, but I think people have been talking about reloading education, redoing a lot of things, right? Well, I'm here to talk about an upgrade to all those wonderful formadores who became transformadores, because you're going to see why. And let's see if you find out what my purpose today is. I've already said I will be singing your praises, so expect to hear lots of very nice things about you, because you deserve them and you have been doing something absolutely fantastic. And yes, we get very emotional because we're talking not just about you, teachers, my colleagues, etc. We're talking about what you're doing, how you're making it possible for Mexico to have a future, because education is what makes a country really wealthy in what matters, the people, the human resources, not just economy, etc., but the people, right? So let me give you a bit of background while we start, okay? Everybody familiar with the oxygen mask principle? When you fly, remember flying? Yes, don't worry, we should be flying later this year. Some people have already been flying, right? But the oxygen mask principle, when you fly, especially if you're flying with a child, right, or somebody who needs a bit of care, etc., they say, first, what do you do in case of an emergency where oxygen masks are required? First, you take care of yourself, because then you can look after other people, the people you're responsible for. Well, this is me reminding you of that same message. Yes, Arturo. If you want to help others, you have to make sure that you're helping yourself, because otherwise we become pretty much useless, right? Maybe a little bit useless, some people a bit more useless, etc. But your own safety first, right? So take a deep breath, because deep breaths are always very good. So let's start, okay? Right. If you ask my colleagues, and you had one of my greatest colleagues, Ben, yesterday, if you ask them, or if you Google, you can see what were the most frequently used words last year, right? Because they always do that. And are you surprised to see these words? The first one, actually, the one that was the one most frequently used by people all over, was quarantine, by the way, right? But you could see things like the other ones here: lockdown, pandemic, COVID-19, everything to do with the current crisis, right? And then we started talking about vaccine, which, remember, a year ago, people said, oh, no, vaccines, we're talking about, who knows, etc., etc. And then amazing things happen, right? And we're going to touch a little bit on health as well. And then things like Zoom, Teams, and Teams in these, like the Microsoft platform, right? Or Google Meet. Some of you may be Zoomers, some of you may be Teamsers, some of you may be Googlers, etc. Whatever you are, you found a way to communicate with people, with the learners, etc. But we also started talking a lot about innovation, and then some of the words like reimagining, reshaping, discovering, lots of different things, and then just not just one word, but a phrase, the new normal, right? And it was all because of our health, right? And how we really felt human, right? Because we saw that there was something that was creating a not so certain future for many people in different parts of the world. This was me when I talked to you. Well, this was not me, but this is one of the slides I share with you when I talked to you in Atenoy in Guanajuato. And we talk about the 21st century. And I had a quote from Andreas Schleicher, right, who works at the OECD, right? And he was talking about the future and what the future was going to be like. And it says, please take into account that it's not just about what you know, but okay, you have that knowledge. What are you going to do with it then, right? So it's going to be adapting your skills, and depending on the different context, how you use those skills, right? So this was about a year and a half ago, right? This is, Ceci introduced me and said, I work at the University of Cambridge. My specific unit is Cambridge Assessment English, right? And these are some of the things that we have been working on for some time now. And notice that we use the word innovation, right? Improving learning outcomes, which is always important, right? But innovation underpinned by research, which we think is absolutely essential, right? Personalized feedback. For whatever you do, you want to be there for your learners as much as possible, right? And not just have like general feedback, etc. Industry leading partnerships is very interesting because I have heard some of you, for example, talk about using Kahoots. I hope some of you, or a lot of you rather, have experienced the Cambridge English Kahoots. And if you haven't, you have to go and start using them. They're absolutely great and loads of fun, right? And if you like video games, raise your hand like me. If you like video games, right? It's used specifically like Minecraft. There is something with English now because we collaborated with Microsoft to make that happen for you, right? So remember those words. And I also show you these a year and a bit ago. And this was, about jobs that were at risk. And why were these jobs at risk? Because we are using technology more and more all the time. And look at last year. It goes without saying that we keep on using technology more and more. This was 2019, okay? I went to the same site, and you have the reference there, Statista, right? And it talks about things being automated, right? And I got this information, and I liked it because this one was specifically about Americas, right? Mexico is not there, which I was a bit disappointed at first when I saw that Mexico was not there. But I'm pretty sure you can imagine. I mean, if you compare Mexico to the other countries there, right? Do you think the number for Mexico would be very different or similar to the ones you're seeing for these other countries? And it is, this one was in Spanish. I couldn't get it for you in English, right? El impacto de la automatización en el empleo. So these are the people in the workplace, right, who may be replaced by robots. And look at the last country there at the bottom and tell me if you aren't at least a bit shocked that you see the most powerful country in the world and you get almost 50% for the percentage of people in the workforce that are at risk of being replaced by a robot, because of what they do. I was shocked when I saw it, right? Because you think, okay, all those Latin American countries, we are weaker in some ways. We haven't got the technology all the way that countries like the States, Canada, many European countries, etc., have got. But look at those numbers, and it makes you think, right? This is also something I mentioned to you last year about the fact that as educators, we had a responsibility to make sure that education is really making learners robot proof. And I told you at that time, because the principle is, and this is the threat of what may happen, is that anything that can be replaced by a robot will be replaced by a robot, right? Why? Because robots, you don't have to pay them a salary. They don't get sick, right? You don't have to make sure that they get some annual leave so they can have a bit of holiday, etc. They don't go on strikes, etc. Right? And you said, yes, education should be robot proof. And look at this, and look at the date. This was, you can see, this is something that has just happened, right? Earlier this week. And this is, Cambridge belongs to the British Chamber of Commerce, specifically to the education group here in Mexico. So we talk about how to collaborate, all British organizations present in Mexico with Mexican, with SEP, with the different industries, etc. And this was human resources, a human resources group. And they were talking about, are you ready to compete with a robot? So as you can see, this is something that is really being talked about nowadays, right? The fact that technology can be great. Technology can also be a nightmare. A salute to my colleagues earlier today, Aracelis and Ramonia, because they showed true resilience and grace on their technological fire that they were having in the morning, right? But technology is a blessing, but it can also be a threat to some people. And maybe some of those people will be some of the people that our future colleagues, the people you're now teaching at Normales, will be teaching, right? So something to think about, not something to cry about, because as I said, you are making wonderful things happen, right? So some words starting with E. And remember, if you've heard me talk before, I always let you know what I'm going to be talking about later. I cannot help myself, right? So some things, yes, totally agree, Ana Luisa. Technology can be a best friend, right? But technology is also fickle, as we have seen sometimes, right? Education, evolution, and excellence. And I think you're going to see why this is going to refer to you. Anybody familiar with Kurt Vonnegut? He has some very quotable things, right? And he talks about history, and I really like this one for this talk because he said, look at this one. History is just a list of surprises. And what we should really learn is that we're going to keep on getting surprises all the time. And with surprises, chances are we may also be getting disruptions, right? Things that were not supposed to happen. Well, was anybody really expecting COVID-19? This is not a question for you to answer about conspiracy theories, right? This is not the right time. Maybe a different chat, but not right now, okay? So history is just a list of surprises, and surprises will keep on happening. Like what happened, we didn't know last academic year that we were going to finish the school year, not in our normal classrooms, right? That we were going to be Zooming, we were going to be Teamsing, we were going to be using Google Meets, etc., very, very frequently, and especially when it came to being with our learners, all right? So if we think of a disturbance, like here you can see a weather disturbance, right? And this very nice expression also in English, weathering a disturbance, because it's very common. We come into hurricane season, we start having storms, etc. I would like to draw your attention this time to two words that many people think are the same, but they are different. And these two words are resistance and resilience. And as some of you mentioned before, you thought maybe I will be making reference to resilience. You're absolutely right, right? So resistance, what you are doing when the disturbance is happening, taking place, right? Let's see how much you can resist, how you are weathering that particular disturbance, right? But resilience will be after the disturbance or while you are going through the disturbance, because it will be about how you are recovering. Because most probably, there will be losses, right? And here if we think about COVID-19, we can think about the very sad loss of human life, right? The disruption to education, to family life, to not being able to do what you had planned to do, to not being able to go and visit your family, see friends, etc., not have celebrations, having a very different Christmas maybe last year, things like that. Weddings that had to be postponed, right, or canceled, etc. Lots of people. I was watching a program the other day where they said that for many, this was talking about people in the United States, right? They were saying that lots of people had found it, especially in the case of married couples, right? They were finding it hard and really challenging to be spending so much time together at home, even despite the fact that they are a couple and they have been together for many, many years, right? So disruption, a disturbance. What is that? When something is not happening the way it should be, so what we're used to doing, we cannot do. And it can be for a little time, it can be for a certain period of time, it can be for a long time. If we think about the quarantine here in Mexico, and we're going to see something relating to schools and in general how long schools have been closed for, etc., right? The disruption can last for a long time. And I've heard some of you, I was in Samuel's session yesterday, which is very interesting, talking about unexpected things that had been happening, and how people had reacted. And you were sharing your thoughts, and you were being very, very honest about how you had felt, etc., right? So some people were more disrupted than others. For some people, for some families, the disturbance was really hit them very, very hard. And you went on, right? Look at the date here, because this was a year and a bit ago, right? And we were looking then at the numbers of learners that had been affected. And that very, very huge number, right, reflected 90% of the total enrolled learners in the world, right? We were talking about 182 countrywide closures of schools. And I'm not going to talk about politics. You see you see the states, for example, that didn't have the closure at the time. You see Australia, but Australia has the big advantage, and also just like New Zealand, but New Zealand, you see, was closed at the time, that they are an island. Mind you, Australia is a huge island, right? But if you look at how they are looking after health now and how they go back to quarantine or even lockdown, etc., they've been very, very strict. And even now, when things are going back to normal, at limiting the number of people that students, we're talking about university students, for example, that can get into Australia, right? They want, I think they, at present, they're only getting like welcoming about up to 200 students every week, right? And they're going to keep on being very, very careful about those things. So when there is a disturbance, when there is a disruption, your life changes, right? And even though things still go on, right? Your life is affected. And I think when we're talking about people to do with education, people involved in the field of education, we have to remember, right? We all have a home. We all belong to a family, right? We have responsibilities, both at work and our personal responsibilities. If we have a family, if we're parents, if we have parents ourselves that we have to look after, etc. And then this thing about the virtual classroom, that we had to make it happen a la de ya, right? Right away. And what things we could still keep on doing and what things we couldn't keep on doing. So there was that glass, there was still water there, but it was not really the same, was it? I mean, things had really, really changed. And when I asked other colleagues last year, how are you feeling? Look at this word cloud and see what the big words obviously represent, the ones that were most frequently quoted, right? And feeling lonely, right? I have the case of friends, for example, who are here, who live in Mexico, but usually go and visit their family, like my friend Johnny, who usually visits his family for Christmas, and he couldn't go to visit his parents in England last year for Christmas, right? People who felt they couldn't do anything, so totally helpless, people who were being worried about things, right? People who couldn't sleep, who said insomnia has become a real problem for me. People who are feeling exhausted. It turns out if you work from home, you can actually get more tired than if you go to your office, to your school, etc. Right? There were also some good things about people who said they were feeling optimistic, right? They thought they were now starting to feel calm, but some people say stress, frightened, happen, etc. If I ask you now, right? And Ceci, maybe you can share with me, how are you feeling now? Because this was a year and a bit ago. So right now, and when we're talking about, and as I said, let's not get political, but if we look at the COVID traffic lights, right, and we know that green is the good one, right? How are you feeling right now? Are you feeling more positive? Are you feeling, for example, Daniela in Morelia, how are you feeling now? Are you feeling positive, or are you still feeling very worried? Are you feeling optimistic about the future? What sort of answers are we getting, Ceci? Good. Optimistic and relaxed. That's very good to hear, right? I really like it when I can see all of you, but I can only see some of you. I can understand, still tired, yes. Good, Alejandro. Glad to see that you're feeling positive. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I like it, Billy. Optimistic is a very good way to feel. Fed up with being at home. Okay. Yes, face-to-face interaction is absolutely great, right? Yes, Katya, uncertain. I can understand that, right? It's not very clear. Um, Mitzi, it's very good to hear from you about feeling great and motivated. I think having been here has to do a lot with this. Itlali, I can understand if you say worried and tired. Tired, yeah, if you say, because it's also Friday, right? Positive, very good, Martin. That's very good to hear. Now some of your names have become familiar because I can see how dynamic you are when you are. Okay. It's people who need a holiday. Yes, he said. I understand that. Tired is a very common way of for people to feel now. Anxious, we don't know what's going to happen exactly. People keep on asking me, when are you going to go back to the office? Too much sitting? Yes. Even though we are at home, we should try and walk and move. Stressed and worried, I can understand. There are no right or wrong answers here, right? Adapting and relaxing is a good thing. Feeling a bit safer, good. Especially all of you. Have you all got your vaccines, your jabs, right? Sometimes feeling a bit stressed, lots of other positive feelings. I hope that you have got or are about to get your vaccines, your COVID jabs. Sad. Yeah, I mean, all of those different things, but let's try, and I don't want you to go like that to the weekend, okay? So, different feelings, right? And some people feeling more optimistic about things. I know why Sandra feels empowered, because she has been working so hard and sharing so much with everybody about different ideas and etc. things to do. So regarding education, how have things been changing, right? And the first thing I want to share with you here, teacher well-being. Remember the oxygen mask principle? This is a priority. And somebody yesterday, I can't remember, I think it was a session with Patricia, and somebody said, we really need to be sitting at the table where the big decisions are made when it comes to education, right? It's not a big table. Big decisions are made, but it's not necessarily a big table, unfortunately. But when it comes to teacher well-being, I will share with you what is happening in some countries. I will say, I really wish we start looking at something similar like that in Mexico, in all of Latin America, actually, in all the world. Okay. Social and emotional learning, we have seen it's not just about what we're trying to teach. And remember, the more we know about learning, we facilitate learning rather than we teach people, right? And so many wonderful things to think about. Lovely food for thought today in the morning with Aracelis and Ramonia. It was really very good. Such an enlightening talk we had, right? But we are sure that we are not going to go back to things exactly the way they were before. Things have to happen because things have already changed, okay? So whatever it is that we can make sure that happens, we have to make sure that it happens for the better, that it changes for the better, okay? This is something terribly recent, so I shared the reference here with you, and I'm going to ask my very good friend Ruben to share all the different links, all the different references that I will be sharing first with him, and then he will, I'm sure he will make it possible for all of you to have all the references, right? So this is a white paper, right, by this group called Together All. And this is about college campuses in the UK, not in the UK. This one is in the United States, right? And things that that the university authorities will have to take into account very seriously, because they have seen that this is happening now. Anxiety and some of the things you have already mentioned, right? Things have changed in the way of their routine, right? Connection is not normal. You talk to people through Zoom, right? You have conversations. Have you heard that joke about Zoom meetings being very similar to a seance? You know, when you try to get in touch with spirits and ghosts, etc., and you start saying things like, "Can you hear me? Can you see me? Are you here? Can you show me that you can do something so that I can see that you're here," etc. Things like that. Okay. Virtual platforms have been great, but they have also demanded a lot from us emotionally, right? And we need to take care of that. We really need to look after our emotional health, because especially in the case of colleagues who deal with very young learners, or you who are making it possible to have future colleagues, right? This is really very important, right? We have lots of cases, unfortunately, of learners whose grandparents, for example, they have had a problem right? But we have seen that COVID is not only affecting senior people, but also people at different ages, right? So we can see it's not only the syllabus, it's also so many different things that we have to take into account, okay? And I told you this is a more recent thing. This is 2 weeks ago, right? At least 2 weeks ago, because it talks about the fact that here in Mexico, this is specifically from Mexico, schools in general having been closed for over 42, 43 weeks now, right? And we hear about schools opening and starting again, and in some cases, like here where I am in Mexico City, we've just heard about schools that have had to close down again because they've started reporting cases of students, learners, and teachers infected, right? So they have to close down and they have to send everybody back home, etc., right? So we don't really know what is happening in the near future. So as many of you said, uncertainty, right? So we don't know what that will entail really. And yet you have continued and you have found different ways of going on. And that is absolutely brilliant. Many of you obviously have also talked about the digital divide and the fact that in some cases, especially in some states, in some rural areas, for example, not urban areas, not big cities, not capital cities, but where you are in La Sierra de whatever or wherever you are, right, that your learners cannot connect with you, even though you're there for them, etc. This is a real problem for them. And look at this. This is brand new from INEGI, right? And this was the big census that was carried out last year. So they published the results a couple of months ago, right? And look at technology, right? And computers, and we're talking about landlines. I think the fact that if you look at the number of people who use mobiles or cellular phones, right, keeps on growing year after years, right? Yes, Eduardo, the buildings have been closed. School has stayed open in Mexico at all levels, in some cases, not in all cases, unfortunately. Online classes having problems, etc. with the internet, right? I don't know about you. Sometimes when it rains here in Mexico City, I'm not going to mention company names, right? Because I think I hate all of them, right? We lose internet, okay? And that's why it's a great idea to collaborate. I remember back in December, I told you about my friend Johnny. I phoned him in desperation and I said, Johnny, my webinar for American colleges is starting in 50 minutes and I've lost power. No power at home whatsoever, right? And because I had worked the presentation with him, like we usually do, right? Have a look at these and see how you like it, and we collaborate, etc. He said, don't worry, I have no problem. If necessary, I will take care of your presentation, right? But the fact that so many people keep on having and getting mobiles makes it possible for education in many cases to go on. And I know, because I've heard from some of you, that is the way you communicate with people. And I told you, after a disturbance, when we have to talk about resilience and how you're going to what's the word I'm looking for? How you're going to react, right? You have to talk about well-being. And I'm very lucky that I work for for a university, right? This is the Medical Research Council. This is part of the University of Cambridge, right? So the Cognition and Brain Sciences unit, right? And I want you to look specifically at how long ago this started, because you can see, that's why I'm telling you, I'm very sad that this hasn't really been happening in Mexico, but I want to feel optimistic. And I want you all to join me in making sure that the people sitting at that big table at the small table where the big decisions are made, take into account the fact that mindfulness is really important in education, in life in general, but also definitely in education, right? So this started this is a 7-year long study, a research study, right? And it's halfway through. So right now they must have finished year 4, right? So starting or in the middle of year 3, okay? And this is about promoting mental health, right? And mindfulness has a big, big part in this. And I would like to talk to you a little bit about this very big thing that is mindfulness. And I'm sure mindfulness is not a new word for you. Remember when I told you take a deep breath? Me, every day, I have my mindfulness session, right? And it's great. It's 10 minutes where I'm here, I'm in the here and in the now, right? And I breathe and I can be free about my feelings and everything. And that can and should happen in the classroom too, right? So this is also the NHS is like the equivalent of Seguro Social or ISTE here in Mexico, right? Um, so it's about national health, right? And they have been spending government money on finding out more about mindfulness and how it can and should be used in education. And so, especially 3 aspects, right? Being mindful, what that means, what that involves. Also, teaching mindfully, right? And teaching mindfulness. So making sure that mindfulness is included in the classroom when we have those learners with us. And this can be done in presence or when you're doing when you're in the virtual classroom. Okay, so this is great news. And in your life in general, right? But especially in education, a huge thing. And I'm going to be inviting you very seriously to talk about that. That was in the UK, in the United Kingdom, right? This is about New Zealand. And I put those lovely sheep there because New Zealand, among other things, the Maoris, etc., right? There's lots and lots of sheep there, right? And lots of green areas. And we cannot go there, even if we wanted to go and visit Hobbit Town, which I think would be a great way to have a holiday. We cannot do right now, I believe, right? So for 2019, they reported that this is the national budget for the country was going to have 2 things. These are the 6 priorities, right? And look at the first 2, at the top 2, taking mental health seriously and improving child well-being. And what is the word that you're going to see there if you read that report? And you have the reference there if you'd like to explore a little bit more. Mindfulness. Because this is something that in most cases only implies, okay, take a deep breath. And nobody will charge you for taking deep breaths. Forget about all those films we have seen about the future where they actually charge you for oxygen, right? For air, because we're living in Mars. That's not happening right now. Wouldn't you like to see something like that when we see the plan for how the government money, the money, our money that is spent by the government includes something like this? And please, when we talk about mental health, we're not talking about, remember, this is a very serious thing because we can all have problems. My mom passed away before Christmas last year, right? So that was a very difficult time. When you lose a parent, it's a terrible thing, right? So we're not our usual selves when that happens, right? So we can have things that's a big disturbance, right? In your how you feel, how you see the world, how you see the future happening, etc., right? So 2 very important things. And I'm not going to tell you who I voted for recently, right? But this is something that I think Mexico should really start taking really, really seriously. So I think, Eduardo, it was you talking about important decisions and how educators should be involved. Look at this one, explore this one, and make sure if you get to that very small table where the big decisions are made, make sure there is a talk about mindfulness for that. Okay? So let's see if we can find that opportunity, because opportunity is also something. I hope you have started thinking about the different words that I've used with the, especially with the letter that they begin with. Okay. And I didn't know that Sputnik actually looked like that, I have to confess, right? And this we're going to be talking about health, because Sputnik, that's how I pronounce it. Sputnik is also a very common word now because of the vaccine, right? And because of all the jokes about everything, right? All those jokes I can only share in private, okay? I cannot share them here. But you have my email. You can send me jokes. I'll send you jokes back. Sputnik, right? Well, Sputnik, Regina Dugan is the person, right? And you might have heard about DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. They do different things. It sounds like something that is where there are bad people planning bad things, right? And overruling countries, etc. No, it's like interesting research projects that they have there. So Sputnik sets off the space age, and COVID can spark the health age. And I told you I was going to mention health because it's been said that we educators are like scavengers. You know, when we talk about animals, scavengers go and take things, right? They find things and they get them, okay? Because we take things from other subjects, we take things from other fields, and we adopt them and adapt them for education, right? And the same way, when scientists started working on a possible vaccine or a cure, both for COVID, right? They have been finding many interesting things that will also help in fields like, for example, in the area of finding the cure for cancer or different kinds of cancer, right? AIDS, things like that. Because, you know, sometimes you look for something and you find something else. That's amazing. Like when you go in your cupboard, right? And you haven't checked what you have in your cupboard for a long time, and you find things you had forgotten that you got, and they were absolutely interesting and fascinating, but you got them, right? So this is what is happening. And I want you to see how maybe it was me, but I saw similarities between what has been happening with the field of health research and what has been happening in education and in life in general, right? So health research, you see those things, and what does that remind you of, right? So telemedicine, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? Telemedicine, anyone? So we're not physically together and it's still happening. What are we doing that nowadays doesn't require being physically together? Virtual classrooms, anyone? Right? Robotic emergency, right? So you cannot find a human doctor, but there is, yes, the internet, of course, yes. You can have nanomedicine is also a very fascinating thing. And I said, I'm not going to talk about nanomedicine specifically because it would take me forever. Yes. Lluvia, if you were in Irapuato a year and a bit ago, I think I mentioned your hair. I love the way your hair looks, by the way. Continuous monitoring, right? How things will. Okay, surgeries from a distance. Yeah, you may be thinking about using robots that can do things with pills on television. Not quite there, Eduardo, but I like the way you're thinking. And DG Ceutical. You know English. English is very flexible, right? So this is digital and pharmaceutical. But don't think about pills on TV, Eduardo, but treatments that you can do remotely, right? Yes, computers helping you, artificial intelligence helping you for lots of things. So you can see some of these things, how we are using technology also in the virtual classroom with our learners, right? And how opportunities make interesting things happen. So instead of hospitals, we now start talking about, had you heard this one before? Hospitals. Because you don't go to a hospital, because remember, there were times, there were weeks, there were months where hospitals couldn't take regular patients, right? But they had to phone and get, like, of course, if it was an emergency, you would still go to the hospital, right? So some of you, if you wear a smartwatch, for example, some of you may have heard about Fitbit. Some of you may favor Apple Watches, for example. In my case, recently, can you see the one I'm wearing? I call it the cheapo, because this is a very cheap yet smartphone that tells me how many steps I have taken every day. It reminds me it reminds me that I haven't been moving when I have been having lots of meetings or talking a lot and sitting down, etc. Well, we're going to go from smartwatches, while still having smartwatches, to more things that are wearables, because you can wear them in all sorts of places. So you can have wearable cameras, for example. In many cases, they will be with your glasses, right? So you will be able to see things, right? And Isaac Asimov was a genius. Yes, of course, we're going to get there. And even wearables for our pets. So if one of our pets or a pet gets lost, perish the thought, we should be able to find him. Now, some people may say, this is exactly why people are complaining that Bill Gates put a chip in the Moderna vaccine in the States. I'm not going there, right? But just telling you that when there is a crisis, there is a lot of opportunity, and intelligent people, smart people, can go and make the most of it. Okay, so technology, very interesting things happening, and we will continue to see them happening. They were looking for something, as I said, and they didn't find it. Look at this statistic, and we're not talking from within a year. We're talking even, what is that, like 3 weeks? Less than 3 weeks, okay? A bit less than 3 weeks. The increase in video visits when it came to virtual visits. So you didn't go to the hospital because, let's face it, many people were afraid that they would be getting COVID because they would be going to a hospital or to what we call clínica here, a clínica del IMSS, a clínica del Seguro Social, right? Yes, Hugo, totally agree. Crisis certainly is a time when innovation and evolution happens very, very rapidly in many cases, right? So this is what we started doing, and this is what started happening, where all the schools and all the universities, not just in Mexico, but in all of Latin America, in all the world, even in all of Europe, in all the states, ready to go to the virtual classroom, to really do remote education 100%? The answer is no, right? And but we have been getting better and better, okay? And that is great. And did you know that, for example, now doctors and scientists are exploring how, if you wear a smartwatch, your smartwatch will not only tell you about your heartbeats, your breathing rate, your pulse, etc., but it will tell you, because of the different things that it is sensing within you, whether you may be going or showing signs, rather, of COVID-19, right? And then we also have the lovely doggies who are being trained to detect COVID, which is absolutely fantastic, because dogs are absolutely fantastic. Me, a dog person, I respect you all cat people, but I am a dog person. I have to say I'm allergic to many cats. Okay, so wonderful things will keep on happening with technology. It was great to hear Jose Manuel talking about the different possibilities for resources that we have from the American embassy, from the American government. Ben, when he talked, he also mentioned some of the things. He talked, for example, about write and improve, and I hope I will be able to show you a little bit of something else. If you like write and improve, I think you're going to love speak and improve, right? Also something that you can use at home and your learners can use at home, right? What is the paradox of choice? Some of you have heard me mention my son, Cricket, not his real name. And we were talking about something and say, I don't really know what to watch, because I was thinking to say, you are a victim of the paradox of choice. And the paradox of choice will tell you that the more you have to choose from, the more challenging it becomes, because look at how many places here you can go. If you only had one door, you knew you had to go there, right? If there were two, you have to choose, okay, this one, that one, A, B, A, B, A, B, whatever. In this case, you have 7, right? How about if it looks like this? You go crazy, right? There's simply too many things, too many options. Exactly, Gabby, too many options. And it makes it difficult, and you get like, it takes you sometimes to decide where to go. Okay. I like that. Lots of cereals, no time to eat. That's a joke like Jerry Seinfeld would share. So too many things to choose from, and we're going to keep on sending you lots of ideas. Exactly, Arturo. Netflix is a clear example, right? But I know you, and I've heard about when you talk about the different things, because you can see um, you need to have principles to guide your selection of things. You're going to keep on hearing about lots of different things. If we have time, I would like to show you something called the New English Classroom, although StreamYard wasn't being very friendly with me when I tried to see with Ceci just before the session whether I could show you my screen, what I was exploring, right? But we'll see, okay? So user experience, is it really easy to use? Can anybody use it? Is it, I would tell you, is it like foolproof? But I don't want people to feel bad about that. So I would say, is it Rosalía proof? Remember that film with Denzel Washington? Explain to me in words that an 8-year-old can understand, right? That's how I want to know how to use things. We were used to plug and play. Now is Google and play, probably, right? There is really learning happening, and that everything regarding technology, what I need, what I will require, if I need certain kind of memory, whatever, etc. Try Minecraft, the learning experience with Cambridge English, and you tell me whether it really follows the 3 guiding principles and makes it possible for you to start using Minecraft, okay? That is special edition. You can get it for free right now. I know you can start using it for free, okay? So that, and we're also talking about technology, as we have said, and you have mentioned, that not everybody has access to the internet, that not everybody, in the case of big families in Mexico, and we still have some big families, especially in the province, I know, right? There are not enough computers that the family can share, that all the kids can share. The internet doesn't really work, right? Problems with connection, etc. And then we know technology cannot really fix inequality or inequity, right? But training and opportunities could. And we're going to see some really remarkable, I think, examples of what people have done to make sure this happens, okay? So now we're going to talk, this is my favorite part, right? So this is where, please get your coffee, okay? Take a deep breath. And please prepare to feel fantastic, because I'm really sure that, and I hope you will share, that you can share some similar things that have been happening with you and what you have been doing, okay? But let's look at some other colleagues, and mostly from Mexico, but from some other countries as well, okay? So remember I told you at the very beginning, the word I used, you're not just formadores, you are transformers. And I said, there's an upgrade today, people, okay? because you're Avengers. And why am I saying that this is an upgrade? Because I love Thor. Okay. So if anybody doesn't like Thor here, that makes me very sad. Okay. We have to talk. So find me and we'll talk about that, because that's a serious problem if you don't like Thor. Okay. But choose any of your favorite Avengers. Okay. And assemble, get together, because this is looking at what some people have done. And I want you to share what you yourself have done, because I'm sure I could feel the next slides all with photographs of you and saying what you have done. Okay. Exactly. Yes, that one. Let's attend education. Okay. Claudia, this is not Claudia, this is clearly a boy, right? Claudia in Guatemala visited her students who didn't have access to the internet and told them, you are my superhero because you're trying your best to keep on learning no matter what. And this is what she did. She visited her learners. Clearly, Claudia, a big star. Okay. I'm sure you have done similar things. And if you have, I really want to hear about that. Okay. This is where you start getting some quotes from mostly Avengers. Okay. So thank you, Sandra. Thor is great. Okay. Um, and you lost your physical schools. Does that mean that you lost your teaching, your educator spirit? Of course not, right? And I'm not particularly fond of Tony Stark or Iron Man, but I love this one, right? Captain America saying, right? You're all about the armor, right? Take that and what's left, right? And I love it that he said, genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist. You lose your physical school, you're still an educator because you make sure that education keeps on happening. Okay. This is what Carolina in Ecuador did, right? Exactly, Eduardo. And you can see here, not about technology. She took her small whiteboard. She visited some of her learners, right, wearing her face mask. Okay, they were wearing their face masks too, and there she was. You can tell probably she lives in a small town. Okay, I like those definitions for educators as well. Okay. So another quote from Tony Stark, and this is when he was getting hopeless. If you have seen Avengers, right? This is when they were getting really very desperate because of Thanos and everything that he was doing, right? So he wants to see shocking people with shocking and fantastic abilities that they hadn't seen before. How about Ivan in Tijuana, who's a colleague of ours, right? And he was feeling very, very worried that um, some of his learners didn't have the equipment they needed for remote teaching. So he realized that he had a very old computer and he did what he could to make it work and he gave it. And then he realized there was another student who had a problem, right? And little by little, he has now been getting donated equipment, iPads, other kinds of tablets, laptops, etc., PCs, making sure that students who cannot afford one can have access to them. So he really is a hero. If you like Avengers and you cannot remember who Frigga is, shame on you, because she is Thor's mom and she herself is the goddess of the sky, right? And when Thor is feeling very, very I failed and I don't know what to do, it says the real measure is whether you can succeed at who you are. So, Nai, for example, in Guanajuato, she started also, you can see, we're talking about, this is not Mexico City, right? You can see clearly. So she got a pickup and she started visiting students who couldn't have access to what was happening remotely, right? And this is what she did. And she tried and get to as many of them as she could. For Delia in Culiacan, with very, very young learners, right? She herself said, okay, heroes come and visit you because you're an important person, right? She was motivating her learners all the time. And the feedback from the parents was that they really felt, yes, I'm motivated again to start trying to learn with the homework that she did. She even got them some sweets, etc. Right? Lovely Thor again. Right, where they say, "Why do you always go and get into these problems?" And because I choose to run towards a problem, not away from them. Right? That's what you have to do. You cannot ignore situations. Somebody's trying to get something. That's in a way to come. Look at Prof. Lalito. Don't you just love him? He went to visit his students. He said, they cannot come to me. I will go to them. Again, look at the context so you can see what these people have in common. And lovely Chadwick Boseman when he was Black Panther. You will see that I'm using these Shutterstock pictures because they are the ones that you can use legally, okay? But in time of crisis, the wise build bridges, right? Or like Juan Antonio in Veracruz, he built the Combiteca, where he takes his internet to visit students who cannot have, oh, the Spidey team. Okay, very good, Gabriela. I like that, right? Peggy Carter is not officially part of the Avengers, but she's related to Captain America. So what the hell? Let's get her in, right? And the world has changed, definitely. And all we can do is our best. So how about Luisa Maria in Parral, who for the end of the year, and obviously we're talking about a place who had no problems. There was a green light because these were the parents very happy getting her to visit. She visited. Look at the clothes she's wearing, right? She visited all these learners on the same day to give them a certificate, right? And she had the graduation robe, right? And things for them to do to make them feel good. Remember when Thor lost his hammer? So he said, I cannot do anything. I've lost my hammer, right? So his father said, who are you? Are you the god of hammers? Aren't you supposed to be the god of thunder, right? So Mr. PJ in Puerto Rico decided that he was also going to get closer to his students, visiting them. You cannot see it, but he tried to resemble a pizza delivery person. And if you look at the little girl, she's actually holding a small pizza that he took, right? Spending his own money to motivate his students to keep on learning at home, okay? Nick Fury, right? You hope for the best and make do with what you got, because maybe you haven't got an army of Avengers, right? But you have lots of people who want to do little different things. And here in Mexico City, we had this tortilleria called La Abuela, right? That said, people without internet, students without internet, come and you can use ours, right? Just be sure you wear your face mask. Your parents have to be near you, etc., and that's how they help education continue. The same here in Veracruz with La Escuelita, right? So the business was not open for business, the shop, whatever it was that they were doing, so they created La Escuelita in Veracruz. And then some of you maybe like the Black Widow, right? Natasha. So when she said, I get emails from raccoons, nothing is crazy anymore. Anything can happen, right? Tlachiquero is actually a pulqueria, right? And this is in Ciudad de Mexico. But look at the people. If you look at it, you can tell that it's a cantina, right? But look at the people who are sitting at the tables. Can you see them? Because those are kids and their parents, right? And again, it's about the internet and making sure you can follow things, you can find what your homework is, and you can do it, etc. Okay? Spider-Man, who sometimes feels sort of overpowered by the other Avengers, right? I can do things, right? At the very least, I'm sticky, right? This was a mother and her daughter, and he said, well, what we can do is they opened their garage, right? And this is what they did. If you are a student and you haven't got internet, you can come and be here, okay? And it's free. You don't have to pay for it. Only 2 people. You have to wear your face mask, etc. And they help as many people as possible. Doctor Strange, I had to have him, right? When he starts learning more about magic and different things, right? And say, okay, so this book, Wong said, is in Sanskrit. So can you actually read Sanskrit? And he said, I can use Google Translate, right? So I will do that. This hotel in Oaxaca that couldn't function as a hotel, look at what they did. They function as not a replacement, but as a place that could make learners come to be with them and use the internet, okay? And then Bruce Banner or Hulk, right? When Thor was saying, right, Ragnarok, if I'm not mistaken, right? I don't know how to use this thing. Instead, but you're always saying you have at least 6, is it 6 PhDs, right? Yes, but different PhDs, but nothing about flying alien spaceships. And somebody had mentioned Nayeli, when she started, she didn't have this. Nayeli is in Aguascalientes, in Calvillo. And if you remember, that's where Nissan has this huge factory, right? So people were really, really moved what she was doing, visiting her learners, etc. And she was rewarded like this. I wish all of you could be rewarded with something like that, if that is what you have been doing to make sure that education keeps on happening. And we're going to come, yes, to resilience, where I will recommend, first of all, this TED Talk a year and a half ago, where Lucy Hone talks about the 3 secrets of resilient people. And this is what it takes, right? You know that bad things happen and will continue to happen, but you can really pay attention to the things that can make a difference. It's a little bit like, when you go to AA and they say, Lord, give me patience to accept the things I cannot change, strength to change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? And your decisions, what you're doing, is it helping you or is it harming you, right? These are the 3 things that you need to consider. I will send you links to very good talks about resilience, because we have had some great talks about resilience from different Cambridge colleagues, right? But I just wanted to pay your attention. I told you I do my mindfulness every day, every 10 minutes. So I get to hear about lots of different things. And I love this, and I'm sure you have seen it, kintsugi, right? Which is this art that comes from Japan. And it's when something is broken, that doesn't mean that it cannot be used or it has lost its use. And when they repair it, because it's something that is valued, they repair it in a very good way. So they use things like gold or silver, and it continues to be valued. And that is what happens when you use your resilience. If you've never read Maya Angelou's poetry, please start doing so immediately, because she was a great person, right? American poet, right? And she said, well, yeah, sometimes I will be changed, but I never will be reduced. That will not happen. Different, but not worse than I was before, okay? So resilience, if you think about your ability to be happy after having a difficult or bad experience in your life, that's what it is. We are trying to cope with things that have changed. No, I'm not telling anybody that we are broken pottery. We are all, I've always said, we're all imperfect in different ways, but we are perfectible. We can go towards getting better and better all the time. So don't take it like that, please. So we're trying to cope with everything that has changed and that has affected everything, as we said before, our responsibilities, the challenges for our families, for our jobs. So resilience. Let's exploring this, and I'm going to share something with you from the American Psychology Association, what resilience is and what it isn't. We now know that it's not resistance, right? And it's important to know we weren't born with a fixed quantity of resilience. right? It means we will go back. Nobody will take exactly the same time to recover from what has been happening, but we will go back if we work, if we really want to get about it. Everybody can have access to their own resilience, right? It doesn't mean that we're going to become stress-free or distress-free, but that we will be able to bounce back, as it says, because we will be able to adapt. So things like resilience, and the link I will share with you is so that you can hear more. The words are self-explanatory, but I think it's good that we all go back to them and think about everything that has to do with resilience, right? Connection to people, how you cope with things, that you can feel it's self-confidence, that you can believe that you can do it, what it does to your character, learning about the things that you can control, the things that you can't, like we were saying before, right? And let's focus on well-being. What we can do, remember, I said to you about things that are happening in the UK, in New Zealand, in Australia. So mental well-being, right? Connecting with other people, being physically active, although we have to be sitting down a lot, right? Learning a new skill. I, for example, decided to take up singing. Don't worry, I'm not going to start singing now. Be kind, using even little things like using thank you, right? And mindfulness. I cannot stress mindfulness enough. So connecting with other people. I like it that when I wake up in the morning and when I'm getting ready, I usually start at 7. I open the window and I usually see Doña Jose, who's one of my neighbors, and I say to her, "Good morning, Doña Jose," and she shouts back, "Good morning," right? And I'm not connecting with her through Teams or Zoom, etc., right? So no TV all the time just because we have the time. It's not just only social media, and now it should be easier with more people getting vaccinated, etc., to do more things. Physically active in whatever way we can. So I try and do a lot of walking at home. Now that I have people in education, we've got our vaccines, right? It will be possible to start going outside more frequently. So that's what we should be doing. So physically active, right? As I told you, learning your new skills. So what are you going to do? Jose Manuel mentioned several MOOCs, right? You can also explore some of the Cambridge MOOCs that we have. Challenge yourself with different things that you want to do. As I told you, in my case, it was singing, right? I haven't become a singer, but I can sing and I feel very happy about it. And being kind, a small thank you rather can make a big difference. So we all have to remember that. And mindfulness. Please just let me, when I get to mention mindfulness 84 times, I will stop, I promise, right? But in the meantime, please, please, please explore something. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples here, right? Because mindfulness is already happening in England now since 2019, happening with public funding. So this is a wonderful decision, right? And I applaud that. Oh, I told you about that. But this is the one about Australia, right? And this is a great thing to explore, right? Because you can see with mindfulness, it's good for you and it's also great for your learners. So it's great for everyone, right? And these are things, if you have very young learners, you are teaching people who are going to be teaching very young learners, something that you can explore also with parents, and it would be great, okay? Because if you're not feeling well, you cannot learn, you cannot really make learning happen. So you have to remember that, okay? So something very easy to do, and here we'll try to demonstrate it very quickly, right? You're going to find 3 different objects. So here I have a mouse, and I have to look to my right when I see that, right? And your deep breath, right? And I have a pen that is here, and I have a window right there. So you're going to do it like that. And you say, this is a window. That's a pencil. That's a mouse. Is that something that you can do with your learners? I think so, right? And something that can help. Mindfulness can always help. Some of you have been talking about diaries, and that is a great thing. A mindfulness diary can also help you with these, or something like this, which is specifically about, and you can find it there in that blog for cam.com. Very good, Mitzi. Mindfulness come in different shapes and sizes, just like heroes. Okay. Diary feedback, things like uh, colors, feelings, different things with food. Like when I talk to parents, for example, I say, okay, when your kids are in the virtual classroom, please, no chocolates, no sweets, no crisps, no Cheetos, etc. Have things like water, not in glasses, especially with children, right? Have things like celery, carrots, etc. Things like that, very important. Puppets, if you're going to be teaching them total physical response, very important for them. Things like that, okay? And now it's an age because we're preparing to return to the classroom. What are we going to return to? We're going to have some learners, whatever their age, that have had a difficult time. We know that. We need to make room for that because it's going to happen. Okay. Um, just because something works. Shuri, if you remember Shuri, that is the Black Panthers, T'Challa's sister, and she's great, right? Things can always be improved, right? Remember, Kintsugi, we're not broken. We actually get better after that. Resilient helps us get better. Okay, mindfulness activities will help you a lot. Not just you yourself, but being positive. And we can be positive. We have to think about things like and say, okay, remember to do this instead of saying don't forget. Makes a huge difference. And sometimes we forget, right? How we notice things, right? Like I noticed Juvia and I said, okay, that girl has great taste in hair. Okay, I really like that. Things like that. Okay. um, Talking about how you're feeling today, because that is important. When we return to the normal classroom, the new normal classroom, the hybrid classrooms, etc., it's good to say, let's be more human, right? And worry and care more than worry, right? So things like stretching and wiggling, try and have that with learners all ages, right? That can always help. And I see that we're coming to the end here. Self-motivation is also very important, right? So make sure you cheer yourself. That can also help, right? Yay, me. Okay. I like what I have been sharing with you. Okay. When I said to Ruben and Cesar 90 minutes, are you sure? I'm not sure I can talk for 90 minutes, but they know me. So I said, of course you can do that. And as Captain America, I said, not a big fan of Captain America, but whenever a bad guy is fighting him and he's not necessarily winning, what does he say? I can do this all day because I love being here with you. So this is what I say. You are the heroes, right? All these things that we have talked about, the evolution, some examples of stars, what is happening with education, hybrid, but not just the hybrid classroom, all the hope that there has been. You have been instrumental here, my lovely, lovely formadores, my lovely, lovely Avengers. You really are stars. I'm so proud to be here. I promised myself I wouldn't cry while I'm still talking, right? I said to my son Cricket, I'll cry afterwards, right? We don't know what the future will bring. It won't, everything we do, we cannot think that will happen the way we want it to happen. We won't succeed at everything, but um you can count on, I know we can count on you coming back and fighting in a different way. All was for opportunity, right? We had the opportunity to change, to improve, to evolve, and do different things. Okay, heroes. And you educators, you are the true superheroes because you have seen some things that don't work, but you have seen lots of things that do work. So what I want to say to you is keep on rocking, because you have been rocking so far. You're the reason we have hope for Mexico. You will make it happen. Thank you. And this is from Star Trek. Live long and prosper. Okay.
Thank you very much, Rosalía, for your inspiring talk and for sharing your wisdom with us, and how important it is to remember what David Bowie said on his song, "We can be heroes just for one day." Okay, so we can have a few minutes for questions, if there are any questions.
Always a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you all, my Avengers, my lovelies. I think sometimes you don't remember how important you are, but you are important. All of you, my colleagues, my future colleagues, as I said, the future depends on education. We're counting on you, and we couldn't have better people, because you are truly, when you think about yourself, please think of you as heroes. Lots of food for thought. And please remember, when I say, one of the things, when I saw Ben Knight in Mexico, he was here a year and a half ago, and I said, we really need to have a meeting to talk about normales, and we're going to keep on supporting all our lovely formadores who then became transformers and now are my lovely Avengers, my lovely heroes. Okay, so as I've said to you before, we have been flooding. Oh no! If you're crying, let's say it's happy tears. Okay, it's. I love you. We have lots of resources. I will be pestering Ruben and Cesar, don't worry, to make sure I share all these wonderful resources with you. Look, my background is sparkling. These are all the sparkles that my lovely colleagues left here from all their previous talks. All of you, it's been great to be in your talks. I hope we can have access to the ones. Remember, when we talk about the paradox of choice, there were so many talks I wanted to go and see you and hear you, and I hope to be with you and your learners in as many different normales as possible. Yes. Happy tears, Carmen Lucia. Yes, definitely. Okay.
Okay, so, well, thank you so much, Rosalía. And on behalf of the Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco, we would like to present you with this certificate or constancia that reads like this, as follows. La Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco otorga la presente constancia a Rosalía Valero por su valiosa contribución como ponente de la conferencia magistral Educators are the Real Superheroes, en el marco del Congreso Nacional de Formadores C en las Escuelas Normales 2021. Guadalajara, Jalisco, 11 de junio 2020.
I think Jose Manuel said it very nicely when he said, we hope to see you soon. All you have to do is ask, and we'll be here. You can count on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And, well, right now we're going to have some, let me introduce Jorge Berecochea. He's an honorable member of the academic committee of this Confien, of this Congress, and he will say some words to all of you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. Well, I have a little message, a very short message for everyone. Thank you, Rosalía. Thank you to the committee. And well, I have a little message for everybody, for all the formadores de inglés, for all the English teachers. And There's something that Mr. Winston Churchill said. To improve is to change. To be perfect is to change often. The teaching profession is an ever-changing one that does not and cannot remain motionless. Humans evolve, society evolves, and new knowledge emerges. Many of us teachers, because of our age, our experience, our resume, our ego, decide that we have little to learn, little to grow, little to improve. However, as Winston Churchill once said, to be perfect is to change often. Fellow educators, on behalf of the Confien Academic Committee, integrated by Gerald Comellas from Benemérito Instituto Nacional del Estado in Puebla, better known as BINE, Carlota Alcántar from Escuela Normal Superior de Nayarit, Mariano Alfaro from Escuela Normal de Estudios Superiores del Magisterio Potosino, Samuel Benítez from Escuela Normal de Sinaloa, and yours truly, Jorge Berecochea from Instituto Estatal de Educación Normal de Nayarit. A great team, very pushy sometimes, but also very academic, giving their best and their plus to keep Confien running. We would like to thank, firstly, attendants, participants, fellow English teachers, presenters, and speakers from all the Escuelas Normales of Mexico and overseas who made use of the internet's bandwidth to virtually gather in this amazing Confien. We also congratulate the venue committee in the Benemérita y Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco and their state education authorities for taking up the great responsibility of organizing such a great and outstanding Confien, this great event, and the first virtual Confien. Furthermore, we cannot conclude without thanking the support that the DGESUM has always provided in the spreading of this event with all the state authorities in every part of the country. Maestro Mario Chavez, Maestro Cesar Romero, Maestro Ruben Enriquez, Maestra Quetzali Sanchez, thank you very much for the effort you make from your official positions. Furthermore, also, we are confident that Confien is making us become familiar faces and virtually for now, but hopefully face-to-face in future events. And besides thanking you all in representation of the Confien Academic Committee, we would like to invite, listen to this, we would like to invite all the Escuelas Normales, all of you teachers, to participate and compete for the honor of hosting Confien 2022. In the upcoming weeks, we will be publishing the guidelines, so be prepared. Talk to your fellow teachers, talk to your coordinators, administrators, principals, and government officials, and encourage them to bring this iconic convention to your Escuela Normal. The next Confien can be in your own backyard. And finally, don't forget to like our fan page on Facebook to keep updated on the latest news and events the country and worldwide has for all of us teachers and formadores de inglés en Escuelas Normales. Thank you, all of you. Congratulations again to the organizers, and thank you to the great academic committee, which is a great team.
Thank you, Jorge. And well, we have come to the end of our Congress. So thank you so much. We would like to thank, on behalf of the Benemérita Centenaria Escuela Normal de Jalisco, to all the participants, speakers, students, teachers, everyone who was involved in this great event. And we hope to see you on the next Confien, 3rd edition. We'll see you when. Goodbye.